Welcome to the Here's the Deal channel. I appreciate you joining. I'm just going to go ahead and jump right into this. Hundreds of years ago, there was a Roman historian named Tacitus, and he said, the more corrupt the state, the more numerous the laws. We've got another law that's about to go we'll get to that in a second. That's about to go into effect in Texas on September 1st. That is the prohibition of THC ban. So they're banning THC, which means they're criminalizing anybody who would buy it, sell it, transport it, carry it across state lines, have it on their person. They're going to potentially criminalize. I don't know how many people use THC in Texas, but potentially they're going to criminalize 32 million people. So a handful of political parasites have created a law using fear-mongering and control freak techniques to control the minds of 32 million people who are going to take this law seriously. A law is the opinions of politicians backed by the threat of force. Let's say that I claim to be your controller and I get out a sheet of paper and I write on this paper that you are to be punched in the face anytime you buy a gallon of milk. Anytime anybody buys a gallon of milk, they are to be punched in the face. They are to be zip tied and they are to be thrown into my basement. That law only has power if two things happen. I have enough enforcers to overpower you and to bring that to pass. And more importantly, it only has power over you if you believe in it and don't buy the milk. That's the only way it has power over you. Now, I understand that there are two factors, one of which you can't control. Actually, you can't control both of them. You can only control yourself. You can't control what others believe, and you can't control other psychopaths who are willing to punch you in the face, zip tie you, and throw you into my basement. You can't control that. But you can control your thoughts. So what Texas is doing here is they are attempting to criminalize through the threat of violent force against people who disobey the you shall not buy THC prohibition. It is a prohibition. So these political parasites are basically saying, I don't give a damn about history. I don't care what happened in 1920 through 1933 in that 13 years of prohibition. I don't care that it gave rise to massive crime. I don't care that the federal government got involved and they started poisoning alcohol, putting poisonous substance in it to teach people a lesson and to bring about compliance, to the point where some estimates say that because the government poisoned alcohol during prohibition, 10,000 people or more died from government tampering with alcohol. Now, what goes along with a law is a lie. The lie is that government, who specializes in initiating unjust force and violence on peaceful people who haven't done anything wrong, the lie is that those violent people are here to protect you and to make you safe. And if we codify this, if we put this into law, you Americans will be more safe. The problem is a vast amount of people believe it. Okay, this is going to make me more safe. Okay, I better just comply and do what the government wants me to do. Instead of the opposite, the founding fathers had enough with British nonsense. We ain't paying any more taxes. We're not going to comply with any more of your laws. We're not going to quarter any more troops. We're not going to deal with any more of your red coat nonsense. And 1776 commenced. I mean, you have to make your decision. Are you going to just obey unjust laws? Or are you going to live as a free man? Because the answer to a political parasite's laws is not, oh, I need to beg the politicians to change their opinions. Here, write something different on these pieces of paper so that psychopaths will not enforce those laws. That's not the answer. Not the answer. That's never been how a revolution happens. That's never been how substantive change happens. That's never been how freedom is carved out. Backcountry, I really appreciate that. I buy forbidden milk. Yeah, exactly. Thanks for the super chat. What's going on, Harvey? The only way we can be free is number one, to free our minds. No man rightly controls you. If somebody tries to control you, if they come to your house to control you, or go to the grocery store and try to control you against your will, without your consent, they've committed a crime, right? Then why is the crime okay when it's legalized and called government or called the local police force? It's not okay. It's an illusion. It's a lie. The only way a law, and I'm using that loosely because it's the opinions of politicians backed by the threat of force. What if we said, I don't care, politicians, what law you make. I'm not write whatever you want to. You're going to look really foolish because I'm not going to obey it. My buddies aren't going to obey it. My community isn't going to obey it. My county, my state is not going to obey it. And we're not going to beg you to make other laws or retract the law you just wrote down. That's nonsense. You don't have a right to tell me that I can't buy alcohol, or I can't buy cigarettes, or I can't jump off a cliff, or I can't walk on the railroad tracks, or I can't run with scissors, or I can't walk out of the house without my shoes untied. You can't tell me anything. I'll do what I want to do. And if I decide to put my life in risk and at jeopardy, if I'm not free to do that, I'm not free. I don't know what part of this people don't get. Stop begging politicians to change laws. I saw there was a clip. I'm going to play this clip right here, but there was a clip recommended to me by YouTube where people are like, no, let's try to overturn SB3. No, just don't obey SB3. Ban scissors, keep us safe. Ban scissors not only doesn't keep you safe, it keeps you in line. It keeps you in control. Do you want dangerous freedom or peaceful slavery? And it's not even so much that freedom is dangerous. Obedience is dangerous. It's detrimental to your health. It's detrimental to your family. It causes psychopaths to think that they can create more laws, because if they create more laws, then you're just going to obey those too, no matter how ridiculous it is. And do you want a surefire way of giving rise to crime and death and fraud and danger in the market regarding, any kind of drugs anything that you would ingest? Go ahead and initiate a prohibition campaign. You would have never heard of Al Capone or even the Kennedys, because they were alcohol, moonshiners too, bootleggers, whatever you want to call them. And I'm not even saying bootlegging is immoral. It was illegal, but things that are illegal doesn't automatically make them immoral. It used to be illegal to free slaves. It used to be a federal crime. Think about this. It used to be a federal crime to work the Underground Railroads with somebody like Harriet Tubman and free the slaves. That used to be illegal, a crime punishable by death, to free a human being or human beings from the shackles of misery. That used to be illegal. Highly moral to do that, but very illegal. So when we're talking about illegality, the government wants you to think in terms of immorality. When we're talking about legality, oh yeah, that's legal. Slavery was legal. Think about that. Oppressing and capturing and imprisoning and shackling a human being was legal, but freeing him was illegal. That's the upside down world we live in. That's the psychopathy of obeying laws and giving legitimacy to legality versus illegality. And that's the insanity of prohibition. And we have history to show us the destruction and the devastation and the loss of life and the ridiculous amounts of money wasted to enact and enforce certain laws that prohibition turned out to be. Speakeasies came up. The Al Capones of the world started paying off police departments because for the cops, it became more lucrative to run a protectionist racket for the mafia than it was to get a paycheck from the NYPD, for example. So it gives rise to crime. It enables cops to make some money on the side. And if you want to talk about empowering cops, go ahead and make more laws. Because if you make more laws, then you're criminalizing more people and you're giving cops a bigger opportunity to enact that civil asset forfeiture. Or to do that roadside, I'm smelling a little more marijuana in your car. That's why we have corporate traffic codes. They're not laws, they're codes. They're statutes, they're ordinances. And what's a law anyway? Even let's call it a traffic law. Who cares? It's just the opinion of a politician. And it's backed by the threat of force. Because boy, if you drive away after I pulled you over for not activating your turn signal, I will hunt you down. I will pit maneuver you. I don't care if you're a pregnant woman. Rodney Dunn over there in Arkansas. So let's go over this real quick. Prohibition is a law that criminalizes human beings. And the more corrupt the state, the more numerous the laws. So now Texas, as of the day before yesterday, when the House and the Senate passed this THC prohibition, you got a new law on the books, which means because people believe it, we've just transferred more wealth and more power from one class of people, the political class, the subservient class, to the political class and the law enforcement class. Let's listen to this. This is the lieutenant governor of the great state of Texas, Dan Patrick. Listen to this nonsense.
We're doing this program, which our veterans, if they have cancer, PTSD, chronic pain, but it's going to be regulated to protect them. So we'll take questions, but I just want to close with this. It's seldom that you all write a story or broadcast a story that literally can save lives. So please ask your editors, your publishers, allow you to put photographs and video up of some of these products, because the average parent has not been in a smoke shop or a vape shop. They haven't seen this. If they saw it, they might think it's innocent candies from some local convenience store. They might think this cereal bites are innocent, but they need to know what's out there. And you alone in this room.
Look what Fishman just wrote. This really gets under my skin. People are just trying to make ends meet. People just want to be left alone. I have no doubt that Fishman, when he was, quote, speeding, wasn't putting lives at risk. He wasn't jeopardizing anybody. He wasn't driving recklessly. He wasn't damaging property. He said, I forgot to go to court last month on a BS ticket. It cost me $450 to not get arrested. This is just an extortion racket. That's all it is. That's the only way I can look at it. I hate all cops in our worthless government.
Today, everything, even from these lollipops, you go into a bank sometimes, they have lollipops up there, if you have kids. These look just like those. I mean, I'm not saying the banks have them. My point is, you see lollipops.
We're going to threaten you. We're going to execute violence on you. If you think you're going to chill out with some THC. Oh, you got PTSDs and you want to self-diagnose and self-medicate. Going to throw you in jail. It's going to cost you a misdemeanor fine. And if you keep doing it, it's going to be a felony. And then we're going to lock you up. No, I know you didn't harm anybody. I know you didn't damage property. You'll steal property. I know you weren't a menace to society, but we're going to throw you into our basement. You're going to lose all freedoms. Yeah, exactly. Dan, if you really cared about the kids, you'd be banning alcohol. How many alcohol-related deaths are in the state of Texas? I'll look it up. But there are 29,000 smoking-related deaths in Texas alone, 41,000 from secondhand smoke in the United States. If you really care about protecting the kids, wouldn't you ban tobacco? Oh, the tobacco industry can't have that. See, this is not because these people are ignorant. At once, I'm thinking, these guys are really ignorant of THC. These politicians aren't ignorant. They're just bought and paid for. Who do you think bought and paid for? Key bono. Who benefits from a law like this? Law enforcement benefits. politicians benefit, and politicians benefit because the lobbyists and the special interest groups and the political parasites and the big pharmaceutical industrial complex benefits. Because if you can get, if a, let's say an Iraqi war vet who's suffering from severe PTSDs, or an elderly person who has some major debilitating pain, but they can seek relief through, some kind of THC, high level THC gummy, well, that's going to take money right out of the big pharma industrial complex's pocket, because they're not going to run to you for this pill that they can get you hooked on. You can actually go to some plant matter that just grew out of the ground. This is not about keeping people safe. This is about control.
What'd you know? You might go in the store and buy them and not even know that you're getting your kid high on drugs and hooked for life. So this is a place where you can really...
Sounds like a script from Reefer Madness. We'll watch a clip from that in a second too.
Make a difference. The stories about jobs and mom and pop business. Look, this is all controlled by the drug industry in Colorado and California and elsewhere and out of the country.
No, you're controlled by the drug industry. I have got no doubt that Pfizer, Moderna, and all these Eli Lilly and all these pharmaceutical companies who got America hooked. By the way, there was an opioid epidemic, not because of the Taliban, not because of the Mexican drug cartels. It was because of American-based pharmaceutical companies. They're the ones who prescribe. They're the ones through these doctors who were on the take, prescribed this medication with the opioids in it, and people got addicted to it. And they got addicted to it because they wanted to escape pain, not because they wanted to get a high, but because they escaped the pain and they were trusting their doctors and they were trusting the pharmaceutical industrial complex. They got hooked on it, and then they couldn't get off of it. Because if you try to get off of it, cold turkey, you're going to suffer those seriously painful, nearly fatal, in a lot of cases it is fatal, withdrawals.
So they never...
By the way, one of the best ways I heard, I'm not a doctor, I'm not prescribing or suggesting anything, that a lot of people got off of this was through something called Kratom. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Dreamed we would ban it. They thought they had hit the gold mine in Texas. And I'm proud of the senators and the House members that stood up and said, you're not going to do this in Texas. You're not going to do it. So tell the story, educate the public, because a lot of the public is still unsure of what this is all about. A lot of people never heard of THC. I was told by one of the staffers the other day, people in the Capitol didn't know what it was about, many. So help educate the public on this, because you will be saving lives. Any questions?
Help educate the public on the fact that Dan, the Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, is threatening your life. Dan Patrick is threatening your livelihood. Dan Patrick is putting your freedom on the chopping block by creating a law that's going to make you less free. That's what Dan Patrick is doing. So get this out, press. Dan Patrick is actually threatening physical force and violence. He's threatening to bring men with guns to your house if he finds out you have THC. He's threatening to bring a gang of thin blue line thugs to the side of your car, pulling you over if they feel like you're transporting THC. And your life will be placed in mortal danger for your safety, of course, because we got to save the children. It's all about saving the children. Tennessee Accountability says I was stopped for driving with no shirt on and almost arrested for refusing to search. Tennessee Accountability, you have to have recorded that. Please tell me you recorded that. If you didn't record it, it didn't happen. So you got to tell me you recorded that and give us a link so that we can see that. Pulled over for driving without a shirt. I've never heard of that.
Are you worried about a veto?
I'm not. I pass bills, the governor signs, or...
If you haven't seen this, wait till you hear what one of these reporters asks and wait till you see what Dan Patrick says. Stay tuned. This gets very, very juicy, very good.
I know the governor, I know where his heart is, and I know where he wants to be to protect children and adults. Yes.
I'd love to ask, we're here on the last day that you can pass bills.
Yes.
And we're
Okay, this isn't the question. This is one of the questions leading up to the main event question. Stay tuned.
talking about bills that have already passed, as opposed opposed to, say, some of the bail reform resolutions that don't look on track to pass in the House? Why focus on legislative battles that, for the most part, are already done?
Because there's a tremendous onslaught of pressure from an $8 billion industry that has unlimited money, and they're trying to poison the story to stop this from happening. That's why, because I can tell you how effective they are, because most of you in this room, no criticism personally, most of you in this room have bought into a lot of their story. Oh, it's going to cost jobs, it's going to impact the economy. It's an $8 billion industry. Oh my goodness, what's going to happen? People are going to be hooked on drugs, having to go somewhere when all this goes off the shelves.
You know, I don't care if it's an 8 billion. I don't care how much money it generates for the state. That's irrelevant. I don't care I do care how many businesses go out of business, because there's 8,000, from what I understand, there's 8,000 retailers in Texas that deal with THC products that are probably going to go under. So I do care about those small businesses. I hate the fact that government got involved in regulating pot. They're wanting to regulate because regulation is control. They want to control the supply. They want to get their slice of the pie. Why? Because government is like a big tick or a mosquito that just sucks the blood and sucks the life out of you. They live, the health of the state is the death of the people. It's the bloodlust of the state. They make their money through the American tax cattle. States make the money through the state tax cattle. That's how they do it. That's how they survive. Taxation is extortion. In other words, money is extracted, it's extorted, it's coerced away from you by the barrel of a government gun. Government is always violence. Like even George Washington, who was he's the guy who wanted to arrest people for rising up in the Whiskey Rebellion, okay? But even he said right things. It's like, I quote Ronald Reagan, and people are like, dude, you're for Ronald Reagan. I'm like, no, I'm not. He's a tyrant just like all the other ones. But he did say something right. He did say a couple things that were right. He just happens to be a hypocrite. But I'm gonna, eat the meat and spit out the bones. Reagan said the 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. Washington said the government is not eloquence, it is not reason, it's not logic, it's not goodness, it's force. And like fire, it's a dangerous servant and a fearful master. That is what government is. Government, if you want to use another synonym for government, government is slavery. It is oppression. It is control. Guverno and mentis, to control the mind, or mind control. It's all about controlling you. Well, what if I don't want to be controlled? Too bad. The nature of government is we're going to force you to do this. We're going to coerce you to do this. We're going to do fraudulent things. We're going to lie to you. We're going to steal from you. And we're going to initiate unjust force and violence on you, whether you want it or not. That's government. If government is missing those elements, then it is not government. Therefore, government, the very concept of government, is illegitimate, and it's not even real. It's a fictional entity. The only reason it works and that there are government agents doing what they're doing is because we are under a mass delusion and people continue to believe it. That's the only reason. It's mass delusional psychosis, if you want to put it that way. So check this out. He's gonna step into some serious, deep-seated BS hypocrisy here.
You all have been, you're part of the problem, quite frankly, because you're not telling.
A politician is telling his audience that they are part of the problem. A political parasite who only lives through the extortion of the tax cattle in his area is telling his audience, filled with so-called reporters, that they're part of the problem. The crime THC is guilty of, causing the munchies. Yeah. The only thing you want to attack when you're under the influence of THC is a bag of snacks.
Telling the story. So that's why we're here. And we're here because this never happens again. That's why we're here. So that everyone knows this story. So that the parents will rally, the superintendents will rally, the principals will rally, the communities will rally. You've already seen law enforcement, they've rallied to the cause. That's why we're here. There are a lot of bills that pass in there. They're important bills. But nothing is more important than stopping a kid getting a hold of this junk.
Because the government cares about kids. The government does the government really care about kids? If the government cared about kids, they would do everything they could to keep those kids' parents from having to pay to the domestic terror cell known as the IRS. The state would do everything that they could to make sure they eliminated every trace of any kind of tax you would ever have to pay so you could keep 100% of what you own. They don't care about kids. They don't care about the parents of kids. They don't care about anybody but themselves.
Do you understand? Do you understand, really?
But how does it get stopped if it's passed? That's what the question.
Because we're going to ban it, and it's going to be because it's going to be banned.
How does the ban get stopped?
Stop saying you're going to ban things and just say it the way it is. You're going to criminalize people who want to freely buy THC. So what you're saying, Dan Patrick, Lieutenant Governor of Texas, is that you don't want Texans to be free to make that choice. And you're going to see to it that you're going to control them through the use of force. Men with guns will just say, I wish they would just say it in an undiluted fashion. I am going to put out a hit on every Texan that dares to purchase, buy, sell, or transport or possess THC products. Just say it.
At this point, it's on the way to the governor.
Because the industry is doing everything they can to. I'm not worried about the governor. Okay. I'm worried about the pressure on the media and the general public to try to keep this going in some way and bring it back or stay alive. Look, they're all going to file lawsuits. We know that's going to happen. These are bad actors.
You shouldn't file lawsuits. You shouldn't seek to overturn this law. You shouldn't go out with a petition and do signatures. You know what you should do? You should absorb and carry out and exemplify the spirit of 1776. Mass, peaceful noncompliance. That is the only way that you will make any kind of change. The only way. It's not to strike down bills or to change them or to change the wording in laws or minimize it or pay the regulation fee or the licensing fee. It's just to go out there and be free. Don't harm anybody. Don't threaten anybody. Don't jeopardize anybody's peace or safety or life. Leave other people alone to pursue life, liberty, to buy property, and to pursue happiness. And you do as well. And if anybody, and I mean anybody, crosses the line and commits a crime to take away any measure of your freedom, they are the enemy and they are to be resisted. Even at the cost of your life, your fortune, and your sacred honor. If you agree with me, put a 1 in the room. There's more, guys. Wait till you hear the real question and the real answer from Dan.
These are people who want to kill your kids, and they don't give a damn. So we'll fight this all the way. But that's why we're here today. This might be the most important bill we pass in this session.
That's ridiculous.
I understand wanting to protect children.
Okay, here we go. Start this over. Listen to what this guy says.
I understand wanting to protect children, but your grown adults are using these products too.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do this where grown adults can still have access?
No, look, we don't.
Can grown adults somehow have access to this, Dan? I understand protecting the children. Whose responsibility is it to protect the children? It's a parent's responsibility. It's not a nanny state or a daddy state's responsibility. You do not want the state protecting or threatening your children. You want the state to have nothing to do with your children, not their education, not their well-being, not whether they're clothed or whether they're fed. It's not the government's business to do anything good or bad to your children. Don't give me this icing on the cake of putrid satanic chaos, the icing of this bill is to protect the children. And if you don't want to protect the children, if you don't want to support this anti-THC ban or this THC ban, then you must not like children. Me and Dan Patrick loves the children. Why don't you love the children? It's like the gun law. If you don't want gun laws, if you don't want gun control laws, then you must hate you must love guns more than children. How about the reason I have a gun is so that I can protect my children. And I don't need you protecting me from an inanimate object, because that ain't happening. That's never happened. And it won't ever happen in the future. So he says, hey, the reporter says, hey, I understand you wanting to protect the children, but Come on, can't you give access to THC products to adults? Just let the adults do whatever they want to do, to which Dan says,
We don't want adults having this either. What are you, crazy? You want to go home and eat a bag of this tonight? See if you're here tomorrow? We focus on kids.
you want to take a bag of if you take a bag of this, you're going to die. Fear mongering. No, we don't want adults to have this. Control, fear mongering, lies, control. This guy exemplifies all that government is.
Because that's where they built the shops. But adults are buying this stuff too. Make no mistake.
Guys, listen, it's so unreal. You got to listen to it again.
We don't want adults having this either. What are you, crazy?
Can you imagine me? Let's just say it's me, okay? I'm going to keep you from drinking coffee because I think coffee is bad for you. I'm going to keep you. I think McDonald's is poison. Most fast food is, but specifically McDonald's. But who am I to keep you from doing something dangerous to your body? I think exercise is good. Can you imagine if I forced you to exercise? But it's good for you. If I forced you to eat green beans, to exercise, to get plenty of protein every day, to stay away from carbonated beverages. If I decided, hey, you're not going to drink that Pepsi or that Coke, that is poison, man. And I believe it is. But you have the freedom to drink poison if you want to. Who do I think I am to keep you from eating McDonald's? Or who am I to keep you from drinking a Coke? Or for running with scissors, or jumping off of a 50-foot cliff? Or walking on the railroad tracks, or driving down the street without a seatbelt, or going 15 miles an hour over the speed limit, which doesn't jeopardize anybody's lives. Who am I to interfere with your life? That's what people should be saying. Who does Dan think he is? I don't recognize Dan. He's not my father. And even if he was, I'm a man. I'm no longer under my father's house roof. I make my own decisions. Dan ain't going to make any decisions for me. Dan's not paying my bills. Dan doesn't help me if I get hurt, and he doesn't drive me to the hospital. Dan doesn't get up with me at 5 o'clock in the morning when I have to go to work. Dan's got no say in my life. So he's going to tell me what I can do? That's how utterly ridiculous this is. We don't want adults to have this either.
We don't want adults having this either. What are you, crazy?
No, you're crazy. This is bizarro world. But he ain't even done yet. He's just warming up.
You want to go home and eat a bag of this tonight? See if you're here tomorrow?
I'm sorry for this peak out. It's peaking out because of their microphone. They don't have their audio issues worked out. But listen to this.
We focus on kids because that's where they built the shops. But adults are buying this stuff too. Make no mistake. We want to protect the 20 and the 30 and the 40 and the 50-year-olds too. We don't want anybody buying anything off the shelf that could kill them or ruin their mental state for the rest of their lives.
Wow, just lies and violence and control.
The young man who was 22, who stepped in front of a train after he ate some of this junk, he wasn't a kid. He was an adult. That's crazy talk. That's the kind of talk, the reason why we're here. Media that would say something as stupid as that.
It's stupid to suggest, hey, I get why you want to, I get why you're saying that you want to protect kids, but adults, come on. He's saying that to somebody who asked that question. And to me, it's a milquetoast question. I'd be like, hey, Dan, what do you think George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and people who owned hemp fields and grew THC would say about this? How do you think Sam Adams would respond? How about Patrick Henry? Don't you think Patrick Henry, who said, give me liberty or give me death, would be like, come and take my THC, Dan. Come on. You miserable, political, parasitic, psychopathic, megalomaniac control freak. I don't recognize you as having any foothold in my life.
I'm sorry, it's just true.
I hear you say those things.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you the opportunity to
Yes, sir.
I just want to ask about you've spoken about the safety aspect of this. We are here already. It's passed. You You mentioned you're not worried about the governor.
Yeah.
I just want to nail this down. Have you spoken with him? Was there a big reverse?
I speak with the governor every day.
About this?
Look, I'm not going to speak for the governor, okay? He will do what he's going to do.
I'm not going to speak for the governor, but I'm going to speak for 32 million Texans who might want a little THC break in their life. I will speak for them. And by the way, I'm not only going to speak for them, I'm going to threaten every single one of you guys. You guys think you're going to have THC? You got another thing coming. And all the cartels are like, oh my God, we're going to make so much money. And Dan knows it because making laws empower law enforcement and the street criminals. And the reason I'm saying street criminals is because law enforcement are street criminals. It's just that they're the uniform. So the ununiformed criminals of the mafia or the Mexican drug cartels or the American drug cartels, it will empower them because that's what laws do. And it's going to empower Texas law enforcement. It's going to make them super cops. They're going to get new patrol cruisers. They're going to have more room to hire more cadets from the academy because they're going to enact more civil asset forfeiture laws, and they're going to smell more marijuana, and they're going to make more busts. This is going to empower and embolden and strengthen and give funnel more funds to the prison industrial complex. This is going to create a whole new class of criminals, just like they did in the 1920s with alcohol prohibition that didn't work, that gave rise to massive crime. But wait, there's more.
I have total confidence in the governor. You will know his decision when he makes it. The reason I'm here today is for you to tell the story. I'm not worried about the governor understanding it. I'm worried about you all understanding it.
Oh, we understand, Dan. And you know what we understand? We understand that you would have worked perfect. You would have been a perfect fit as a producer and a director for Reefer Madness. Check out this 30 seconds of just utter BS. 100% of what you're about to hear is a hyper lie.
These high school boys and girls are having a hop at the local soda fountain. Innocently they dance, innocent of a new and deadly menace lurking behind closed doors.
This is how Dan was putting it. You eat a bag of this, you're not going to live till the next morning. It will kill you. It's a deadly menace.
Marijuana, the burning weed with its roots in hell.
The burning weed with its roots in hell. They were trying to scare the ignorant. And guess what? For the most part, it worked.
In this film, you will see the ease with which this vicious plant can be grown in your neighbor's yard, rolled into harmless-looking cigarettes, hidden in an
harmless-looking like cigarettes were harmless. You can smoke the cigarettes that are going to get you lung cancer or breast cancer or some kind of cancer in your body. But this is the weed from hell. This is the devil's lettuce.
Innocent shoe or watch case.
If you want a good smoke, try one of these.
You will meet Bill, who once took pride in his strong will as he takes the first step toward enslavement.
The first step toward enslavement, says the government who wants to enslave you by restricting your choices as a free American.
Of course, if you're afraid.
Watch Bill's face. You know what his face reminds me of? What was that guy's name? What was the guy who goes, "Oh, I must say," he was on Saturday Night Live back in the 1980s. Martin Short, you remember that guy? Oh, I must say, he had the same look on his face. Bill's gonna start getting satanic because he smoked the devil's lettuce. Look at him.
Soul-destroying reefer, they find a
soul-destroying reefer.
moment's pleasure, but at a terrible price. Debauchery, violence, murder.
Debauchery, violence, murder, and the next one starts with S. I can't play the S word. The S word. Watch. When I saw this first time, I was like, you mean if I smoke reefer, I can play the piano like this? Look at his face.
See this before it is too late.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Reefer Madness, formerly Tell Your Children. Oh, it was called Just Tell Your Children. Oh God, see this film before it's too late. Now this guy right here, he's a Democrat. He's on the political left of the Dog and Pony Show, but he spits a lot of facts here, and he completely owns the Republicans in condemning them for SB3, which is the THC prohibition bill.
This bill,
This isn't me saying, "Oh, Democrats are great." It's just truth is truth, no matter where you find it or who's spitting it or laying it down.
is insane. This legislature legalized hemp 6 years ago, but instead of regulating this booming industry in our state,
See, he's even in saying the right things that he does, he's calling for hey, let's regulate it, don't prohibit it.
we are
God, you really have to be a psychopathic control freak to be a political parasite. You really do.
now going backwards to the days of prohibition. This bill is not going to stop Texans from smoking weed or eating edibles just because a bunch of politicians in Austin tell them not to.
Yep, that's true.
Texans will still use THC, but instead of getting it safely from a local small business,
Safely from a local small business that's regulated by the government. So even in saying the right things, he's filtering everything through the government pathway, the safe government pathway.
they'll now get it from the black market, from the drug cartels. This ban is a gift to the cartels. We are now telling full-grown adults how to live their lives.
Yep. Well, this guy also wants to tell you how to live your life because he's a Democrat, and Democrats and Republicans are for red flag laws, closing the gun show loophole. They're for, and by the way, the red flag laws are the red flag gun confiscation laws. They're for closing the gun show loophole, and they're for, I drew a blank on the last one. They're for just total gun control. Oh, they're against high capacity magazines. They're against AR-15s, AK-47s. They are for the National Firearms Act of 1934. They don't believe you should have a firearm that has automatic fire. So he is for regulation. It's just the regulation that he wants. He wants to pretend that he's against government control while he's really for government control. But he's still saying the right things right here.
This is the nanny state at its worst.
That's true. And he's for the nanny state too. He's just, politics ruins your brain. It erodes your brain, and it causes you to be so inconsistent and hypocritical in your thoughts and in your life. It's pathetic what it does to human beings.
This is big government at its worst. I thought the Republican Party believed in limited government and personal responsibility. I thought the Republican Party believed in liberty and freedom. What gives us the right to tell an adult what to do on their own time?
I agree.
We are now about to throw Texans in jail for seeking relief that's safer than alcohol.
Yep, that's true.
And less addictive than tobacco.
Yep.
Instead of fully funding schools, expanding access to healthcare, lowering costs of childcare, this legislature is focused on banning a product that gives people a little peace. Texans use THC to lessen anxiety. Seniors use it to manage chronic pain.
That's
Our
true.
veterans use it to treat PTSD.
Think how vile and evil you have to be to get in the way of somebody reaching out their hand to buy a product that's going to lessen their pain and telling them, you can have it, but we're going to heavily restrict it, and we're going to heavily tax it, and you're going to have to get a license for it. You're going to have to come to me to get permission to get that life-saving thing that's going to make your life way better. How evil do you have to be? That's how evil government is. That's how evil these people are. Even though he's saying the right thing, he's a very evil person. You cannot sidestep the fact that these politicians, the political class and the law enforcement class are evil people who are willing to put their conscience and their morality on a shelf so they can just follow orders and force you to do things that you don't want to do.
With this ban, we are now making people's lives harder, not easier.
That's true.
I want to leave you with a quote.
I love what he does here. He totally comes off the top rope on the Republicans.
It is time to end needless arrests and incarcerations of adults for small amounts of marijuana for personal use. That wasn't a Democrat. That was President Donald Trump. To my Republican colleagues, I'm asking you to oppose the cartels, stand with President Trump, and vote no on this insane bill.
So what they ended up doing, they ended up voting yes, 25-6 in the Senate, and I think it was 95-44 in the House. So it passed. And this bill, this anti-THC, if we catch you, we're going to arrest you bill, is just going to, it's sitting on the desk of Greg Abbott, the governor, and he's definitely going to sign it. And there ain't nothing nobody can do. And I want to read to you something that James Freeman posted under my last video talking about the DOJ being withdrawn from the investigation done on the Phoenix Police Department and other police departments that are engaged in widespread criminality and corruption and civil rights abuses. He said, this is James Freeman, someone reached out to me a few days ago asking me to beg elected officials not to pass this, talking about this DOJ thing being removed, because it would end police accountability. There wasn't ever actual police accountability to begin with, though, or politician accountability or judge accountability. I prefer it this way. I'd rather they be open about the fact that they will never be accountable for their actions rather than pretending that the federal government cares about the rights of slaves. And then he said, he even tried to use scare tactics to get me on board with begging my master, such as telling me that if I didn't support his campaign to beg the master, that master would surely end my YouTube channel. What happened to your life, your fortune, your sacred honor? Give me liberty or give me death. Hey, I'm not obeying. I want you to know up front, politicians, I'm going to be honest with you, unlike your dishonesty with me. Write whatever you want. I'm not going to beg you to change it because you're a parasite. I don't expect you to change it. And even if you did change it, you would just change it because you're on the hook of some lobbyist or special interest group and you're getting a back rub from the big pharma industrial complex or the prison industrial complex or the military industrial complex. I'm just letting you know up front because I'm an honest person and I have a conscience and I have a moral code that I live by and a moral compass that I go by, and I don't ever veer from it. I'm not going to obey your laws. You say THC is legal. You say you're going to send men with guns. I just want you to know I'm going to defend myself. What if 1 million people said that? What if at every traffic stop, hey, you can do whatever you want to with the traffic codes, but I want you to know that if I'm not harming anybody, threatening to harm somebody, stealing their property or damaging their property, I'm going to drive like I want. I'm going to drive safely, but I'm going to drive like I want. And if that means driving without a seatbelt, if that means going 5 or 10 miles an hour over the speed limit, because I'm going to get where I'm going to go safely, but I'm going to go a little faster, just like all you cops do. Just want you to know, if you mess with me, I will defend myself. And what if everybody started doing that? I'm not calling for anybody to do anything. You're going to do what you're going to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. There's a certain hill that that's the hill you're going to die on. Maybe you want to die in the valley of slavery where you're obeying your masters and you're licking the boots and you're shining the shoes and you're saying, give me another. Please lighten my chains. Man, this world is crazy and it's led by crazy people. And one of the reasons it is because most people have walked away from morality. They've done what Samuel Adams said. He said, no people will tamely surrender their liberties, nor can any be easily subdued when knowledge is diffused and virtue is preserved. On the contrary, When people are universally ignorant and debauched in their manners, they will sink under their own weight without the aid of foreign invaders. You've already lost if you're just going to comply. Compliance leads to Stalin and 60 to 80 million dead and 18 million dead in the gulags. Compliance leads to Mao Zedong and Kim Jong-un and Adolf Hitler and Mussolini. That's what compliance, that's the end of compliance. The end of compliance is you naked in a ditch with a whole but thousands of other people. And there's so many dead people, they have to build mass graves with bulldozers because, we don't have enough casket makers because they're all gone too. That's what compliance leads to. So when is it time for us all to get together and you go, you know what? Life, fortune, sacred honor, YouTube channel, money in the bank, nice, air conditioning. I'm not going to bow down this time. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. Guard with jealous attention the public liberty, not safety, not security, not save the children. Suspect anyone who comes near that precious jewel. And nothing will preserve that liberty, that freedom, but downright force. And when you give up that force through compliance, you are ruined.